Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday morning. Welcome to Master Plan Masterclass. My name is Kawi, and in this series, we'll be studying the master plan of different planning areas across Singapore. In this process, we'll be using EdgeProp's analytics to observe trends and study specific data points. Today, we'll be discussing the Bugis area in the first half of the morning, and then the Lentor area at 11:15 a.m. So post your questions in a Q&A, and we'll get to them shortly. We'll get to them later. To start out this morning, we're very glad to have our friend of EdgeProp, Alice Tan, to tell us more about the Bugis area. Alice is the head of consultancy at Knight Frank Singapore. So welcome, Alice.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much.
Alice.
Thank you, Kawi and team and EdgeProp team for having me here today. I'm very glad to share about the Bugis precinct. And Bugis precinct is a very interesting area and is with a lot of attention in recent years, as Singapore's government planning authorities are making plans to rejuvenate the area. So without further ado, I will firstly share my screen. Right, and I will firstly get my list pointer up there. All right. So why Bugis is something that is of interest in recent years? It has hybrid kind of a setting whereby it is a combination of heritage, leisure, as well as progress, especially in the last 5 years or so. So it's always good to appreciate, how has Bugis begun in terms of its beginnings, and then how it has progressed, and how government has actually made plans to gentrify the area, and how has been the property market performance been throughout these recent 5 years and during the pandemic. So I'll start off by talking about the beginnings of Bugis. You may be wondering how does the name Bugis came about. Actually, the name Bugis comes from a group of people from South Sulawesi of Indonesia, and this group of people are known as Buginis. So in the pre-1950s, they actually sailed all the way from Indonesia, sailed up ashore to the beaches of Singapore, and they moor their boats and park themselves at Bugis. And because they come in huge amounts, huge droves, and they trade with the Singapore merchants at this large canal thoroughfare, between Rochor and Kallang River, and how this is the name that came about, called Bugis. And Kampong Bugis, which is also in the Bugis area, is located between Rochor and the Kallang Rivers, as back as in the 1820s. And from pre-1950s, all the way to 1970s, we start to see Western seamen coming also into Singapore. And as they come to Singapore, they tend to come to Bugis as well to find entertainment, local culture. And, as more tourists start to come to Singapore in the 1970s, this place in Bugis becomes a lot more vibrant. And as it becomes vibrant, nightlife also start to pick up, and things get so, in a way, hyperactive that the government has to say, okay, I think we need to relook at the whole Bugis area, and they start to do redevelopment. And they demolish quite a number of certain buildings that has hygiene and safety issues. And they somehow clean up the area in the early 1980s. And so thereafter, there were attempts made, to revitalize Bugis Street by the government authorities. And in the 1990s or so, our Singapore Tourism Board wanted to redevelop and gentrify Bugis, and they start to look into shop houses areas, which is the current Bugis Junction area. They wanted to rejuvenate the place, so they start to invite developers to come in, conserve the shop house heritage and building architecture, and in fact, Knight Frank was quite proud to be one of the retail consultants for the project, in Bugis gentrification back then. And then since the 1990s, Bugis start to have a new image and a new outlook, starting from Bugis Junction from the 1990s. So from early 2000s to present, we see a lot of development in especially commercial followed by residential developments. So since the early 2010s, with the setup of Capital Mall Trust, our first REIT in Singapore, they acquired Illuma at close to 300 million, and Illuma was later on being revamped and rebranded as Bugis Plus. And we start to see Bugis Junction amalgamating with Bugis Plus with a link bridge. And in 2013, Bugis Downtown Line Station was opened. And we start to see residential mixed-use integrated developments sprouting up in the closer towards 2020 with the completion of Concourse Skyline, South Beach, Dual, Citygate. And in 2019, Goku Land secured a landmark site, a huge GLS site to develop Goku Midtown, which I'll share later on about what this project is about. And in the early 2000s, just to look down the timeline, we also see some civic developments being completed, such as the National Library, and also with SMU moving closer towards the Bugis Bras Basah district to their new brand big campus. And then we also start to see that in recent years, Golden Mile was just being sold en bloc to the Far East Perennial and Sinoland Consortium. And in the future 2 to 3 years, we can see brand new mixed-use and residential developments being completed. So let's appreciate, how is Bugis integrated with the central business district. If you look at the boundary of the green boundary over here, this green area is demarcated by URA as the downtown core area. And I see that this downtown core area is synonymous with our central business district. And how does our central business district expand over time? In the 1880s to 1890s, the first CBD area was somewhere around Cecil Street, Robinson Road, and Anson Road. That's closer towards our Tanjong Pagar. And interestingly, in the 1880s, there was actually a little mountain called Mount Wally, and that part of the mountain was being pushed to the coastline outwards to where we see Cecil Street, Robinson Road, and Anson Road. And from 1930s all the way to 1990s, for the last 60 years in this period, we see massive land reclamation works along our traditional CBD coastline, and Shenton Way was being built. And then we start to expand southwards to Tanjong Pagar to further develop Raffles Place and Tanjong Pagar into the main business and financial districts up to the 1990s. So that was like the traditional CBD area. And from after the 1990s, we start to see the expansion of Marina Bay as another new business district adjacent to Raffles Place. And our government is very far-sighted. They actually prepared this Marina Bay land, as early as like 30 years ago. They start reclaiming in the 1970s, and 30 years on, when the land is ready, they actually were able to build up a new business precinct, which is Marina Bay, to form part of the new downtown area. And what's next? We now see the government moving a bit northeastward, that means towards Bugis, and they are now looking into gentrification of the Beach Road and Bugis area. And let me take you through what will be the activities, what has been and what will be the activities going on into the Bugis area. So now we zoom in deeper to look at, how is Bugis being planned, with respect to the other planning areas. As you look at the boundary of downtown core, and you can see that downtown core is very much is actually adjacent to the nearby museum planning area, which is a deep heritage area with Fort Canning over there. And then with Rochor area, which is an assortment of old buildings as well as new developments. And when we look into the Bugis sub-zone area, it is seamlessly adjacent to Victoria, Bras Basah, City Hall, Marina Centre sub-zones. So all these sub-zones has a great mix of heritage, culture, as well as modernity with new buildings coming up, at Marina Center and City Hall. And Bugis enjoys that proximity to City Hall as well as Marina Center with a huge office catchment. And Victoria and Bras Basah is much more of a cultural heritage as well as arts area. So, and likewise for Kampong Glam as well, which is also a very nice heritage and religious area too. So Bugis is right at the heart of, where it's at the intersection of modernity and culture and heritage. Zooming into the master plan area, we compare what has been the land use planning changes, from for the last 20 years or so. When we look at the URA Master Plan 2003, much of the land has been, put on reserve. Like you can see that the reserve site, which is the current dual residences and as well as hotel and office developments in this integrated development called dual, it was changed from a reserve site to a white site. And there are also other parcels of the land where they have converted from reserve to commercial. So you can see that the planners are moving towards injecting more business spaces into Bugis. So as a reflection of the expansion of the business district beyond the traditional CBD area. And interestingly, as you look at certain other plots of land, the government also tried to inject a bit of a residential component as well. Like when you look at the current Midtown modern land use, it was actually a mixture of commercial, the dark blue color, commercial on one, like a U shape, and then you have commercial and residential, and then they kind of reshaped it, and now they make it into having higher component of residential with commercial on the first floor. So likewise for DM is also having the same kind of land use, which is residential with commercial. So the government is also cognizant with the fact that a business district needs to have day and night vibrancy, and hence they actually tweak the land use in recent years to ensure that we have this day and night vibrancy with a good mix of residential and commercial elements. And as you look at this Master Plan 2019, you can also appreciate that the government also tried to integrate with the other adjacent heritage areas such as Kampong Glam, where they maintain certain pedestrianized streets, as well as up at Waterloo area and Queen Street area, which is closer towards SMU residences as Prinsep. So you can see that Bugis is shaping up to have a great mix of not just commercial, residential, but it has cultural, arts, as well as education with its close proximity to the new SMU campus. How about transport infrastructure and connectivity? We see that the North-South Highway, which is a new expressway that's going to be built, it will actually have entrances and exits along Rochor and Ophir Road. So for those who commute from Bugis to the north side especially, they will find it very convenient, with the upcoming NS Expressway. And the other very important transport connectivity is MRT lines. And the downtown line was actually being completed and connected with the Bugis station, connected with the East-West line. And now Bugis is an interchange of East-West and downtown lines. And for those who enjoy downtown MRT line, it's a newer line. And some people say that this downtown line is like a godsend because it is so convenient to bring people from the far end, Bukit Panjang, Beauty World, and the Bukit Timah area, right down to Orchard and into Bugis, and also into the CBD area of Promenade, Bayfront, and downtown. So the traveling time, for these commuters from these areas down to downtown core has been substantially being reduced. They used to take almost an hour, for those in Bukit Panjang and Beauty World. Now they just take at most about 30 minutes to reach the central area of Singapore. So the downtown line is actually a great line, and being able to also integrate with also the East-West line, which is one of the highest traffic line for the MRT lines. Bugis interchange is actually a great interchange to be able to pull a lot of catchment from different areas of Singapore, especially from the northwest, and also from the west and the east side to come towards Bugis. And the newly integrated South Beach and Dual developments that sprouted out in recent years further energizes the Bugis area. And Dual is also integrated development, integrated with Bugis MRT station. And from a cultural standpoint, how has this Bras Basah Bugis area been revamped? URA8 actually put in a lot of effort to encourage pedestrianization. They start off with Waterloo Street. They are making enhancement works estimated to be completed around end of this year. They are doing some streetscape improvements, so as to make walking like a delight, with more public spaces for people to enjoy arts and cultural activities and along the street. So it adds life to this Waterloo Street area, and Waterloo Street area is within a short walking distance to Bugis MRT station. And also there is some connectivity from Fort Canning Park into the Civic District, with the creation of Armenian Street. And Fort Canning is not too far away from Bras Basah area too. And Bencoolen Street, Bencoolen Street is going to see some improvement works, such as using student design street furniture so that people can come together and linger and socialize. And then further down Queen Street, which is closer towards Bugis, is going to have sidewalk enhancements and upcoming Singapore Art Museum expansion. And there's going to be more arts and cultural events in the new staging grounds. So you can see that how the government is planning all this street rejuvenation and pedestrianization will help to draw more people to come to this place to appreciate the precinct. And in so doing, after they finish their arts and cultural activities, they will need to find public transport to go home. So naturally, they will go to the nearest MRT stations and they will gravitate towards either Bugis MRT station or further up, that is Dhoby Ghaut. And looking further into what has been the recent developments and infrastructure enhancement in Bugis area. So this is a map to show the skyline, a helicopter view of how the Bugis precinct looks like. You can see that the Bugis area, which is, if you look more on the left, where Parkview Square, Gateway office buildings were built in the early 2000s. They were the first new commercial developments being built in Bugis, and then followed by Dual. So Bugis becomes there's a catalyst, first set of catalysts being achieved by these few developments, and it's not too far away from the other iconic and notable commercial developments such as Suntec right across, Marina Square, and Raffles City, the hotels like Intercontinental Hotel, and not forgetting our very iconic National Library. So new developments like Goku Midtown and Midtown Modern, NDM, as they rise up, they are able to enjoy these views, with some blocks able to enjoy city views, some blocks being able to enjoy some vistas of Marina Bay views, and also the Bugis city area views. So it's shaping up very well, and you can imagine that when the developments are up and running, it does have a great appeal in terms of the new precinct development adjacent to the traditional CBD area. So let's just go through, what has been the recent developments and why does these developments add life and vibrancy to Bugis. So South Beach, this development was being curated for quite some time. It has a conservation element as well, and that made it very interesting. So it's a mixed-use project comprising residential, hotel, office, and retail. So when it was completed in 2016, that became another focal point in the City Hall Beach Road area, and Beach Road area is directly connected to Bugis. So as people drive towards this South Beach, they will naturally also go to Bugis. And in terms of its office rentals, why do we want to show office rentals? It's just to show you that Actually, in these new precincts, such as like City Hall's Beach Road, they are able to achieve, office rents above $10, which is a commendable rent and very close to certain office buildings in Raffles Place and Tanjong Pagar. So it seems that Bugis and City Hall area is now inching towards office rental levels closer towards the traditional CBD areas. And also the building features are also of grade A standard, like hotels, Green Mark Platinum, and they have great engineering design features to make this development a very grade A premium standard. And the other one is Duo. Duo is right in the heart of Bugis, connected to Bugis MRT interchange. This development is done by M+S, which is a JV between Temasek and Khazanah. It's also mixed use, just like South Beach, and it was completed about a year later after South Beach. So after South Beach became the first focal point in the Beach Road precinct, right next is Duo, and Duo does have quite a great mix of hotel and retail, where hotel is about 300 rooms and office is more than 500,000 square feet. It does enjoy great views, towards the city and also the Suntec area. And when they first launched its residential project, it enjoyed great take-up of close to 90% over 3-day launch, in Singapore and also in Malaysia as well. So it was quite a commendable feat, because when they launched this, it was in November 2013, and November 2013 is just a few months after the TDSR cooling measures. If all of you still recall the TDSR, the total debt servicing ratio cooling measures in July 2013. So when this project came, the market was still a bit slow. So when this project came up, surprisingly, there's great take up. So it also shows that home buyers are keen in the Bugis area. And when the project was completed in 2017, it also enjoys good rentals right now at about $11, comparable to South Beach rents as well, given it's a grade A standard, with its platinum standard for office, and because the project is built in a great quality standard, and with its potential location, the office and retail space was being sold to conglomerates such as Alliance and Gore Capital, and with a high price of about 1.6 billion in 2019. And in the same year, the hotel was sold to Hoi Hub for close to 500 million in 2019. So these are demonstrations of its potential and interest from institutional investors. And Citygate is also another project further up, beyond Jalan Sultan, in the Jalan Sultan area, closer towards the other end of Beach Road. So this project was actually being built to replace the old Key Point office building. So Citygate development actually adds some form of rejuvenation to this other end of the Beach Road area, and it has residential as well as commercial component. Residential is about more than 300 units, and it's right next to the Nicoll Highway MRT station. Residential has been fully sold already, and there's a strata commercial component where there are some units remain to be sold. And another development that is another form of excitement to the City Hall Beach Road area is actually the redevelopment of Shaw Tower. And the project manager in charge of building this, in collaboration with Shaw organization, is Lendlease. And Lendlease is a well-known developer when it comes to safety standards and placemaking efforts. So this Shaw Tower is going to be completed in 2025. So that will further add to the business ecosystem in the Bugis City Hall area. And they are going yet another level of green sustainability standards. Going beyond platinum, they are aiming for super low energy accreditation. You're going to have some stunning green features and also community-centric facilities. And the M is another residential project right in between Middle Road and Liang Xia Street, and quite close to Shaw Towers and Goku Midtown. So this project is of interest because when they launched it in February 2020, it was right at the start of COVID-19, where show flats are going to be closed, and people are still afraid of the virus. But somehow the virus did not deter eager home buyers to look at this precinct. So it achieved a commendable, in fact, a very good take-up rate of 73% during the launch weekend itself. So this project, comprising 3 20-story towers with 500 over units, and it's going to be completed in 2024. And this project, even though it's not an integrated development per se, because you still need to walk to the MRT stations, it still is able to enjoy great take-up. So this demonstrates that home buyers are interested in the location. And I want to talk about the appeal of integrated developments. Some years back, myself and my research team did this analysis about integrated development price premium. So how big is this price premium that integrated developments command? And how do we define integrated development? So I defined it as, it is a mixed-use development with residential and large commercial element, and that is seamlessly connected to a transport node and public spaces. So this is how I define integrated development. And this definition is what I typically advise developers, when it comes to marketing angles. And from our consultancy and research study, we derive this premium, whereby this premium is about 20 to 25%. So because of its seamless connectivity, as my counterpart, Alan from Savios, he allude to the appeal of integrated developments, where he says it's basically convenience at your doorstep. You save a lot of traveling time, which you would otherwise spend traveling to shop or taking a bus or walking 10 to 20 minutes to an MRT station. So it is right at your doorstep for integrated developments, and they certainly do command a premium. And the study that we did was actually quite extensive. It's an island-wide kind of study. So this premium is what we see typically when developers price a premium for integrated developments over those that is without integrated developments for residential. And I want to introduce this Goku Midtown integrated development, which is right next to Shaw Tower. And across the road from Goku Midtown is Midtown Modern. So these two integrated developments are developed by Goku Land. And we talk about Goku Midtown first. Goku Midtown, it is a premium grade A office development, with public and retail spaces. There's some components of conservation building, which makes it very interesting, like South Beach. And it also has exclusive residences. So it is also served by direct connection to the MRT station, as you can see from the artist cross-section impression, whereby from Goku Midtown, there's an underpass, and you can go straight into Bugis Interchange MRT station without getting wet. And this development is actually the next closely watched integrated development exemplar in Singapore. So it has a residential component which is called Midtown Bay, which is about 219 units. And in terms of Midtown Modern pricing, it ranges between 4,000 over per square foot in terms of its 6 sky bungalows. And also these 6 sky bungalows in Midtown Modern is located from level 24 onwards. So big size units are getting more popular, especially for the high net worth individuals. They need it big. So the developer has crafted this 3,006 square feet sky bungalow size, which is a very good optimal size. And per square foot is about 4,000 per square feet. So looking deeper into what does Midtown Bay offer in terms of the bedroom types. So it's mainly 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom units with some 2 bedroom duplex and 3 bedroom duplex. So these units are crafted for urbanites, who can be singles, dings means double income, no kids couples, as well as foreign expatriates. And it's a great investment product, whereby because it's right next or just adjacent to the office development in an integrated project, and you will enjoy direct connectivity to retail amenities downstairs and also to Bugis MRT station. So it also has a flexible home office concept that allows residents to adapt it for living, whether is it for office or for entertainment. So the layout is crafted for urbanites. So this Midtown Bay is quite a good project to be right next to office development. And across the road is actually Midtown Modern, which is a recent launch last year. And just want to share with you some interesting features about Midtown Modern, because it's quite a, I would say, another level of project design, which I don't see in many other projects except this one. So this is actually a full facilities condominium and the only one in the Central Business District area, which is the downtown core area, planned by URA. And Bugis is part of the downtown core area. So this is a full facilities condominium. So what do we mean by full facilities? It means it has a 50-meter swimming pool, clubhouse, it has a tennis court. So, these days a lot of condominiums, especially the tight land areas type, do not have a tennis court, but it's able to design a tennis court in a CBD area. It has a gym, hot springs, tea house, and entertainment pavilions. And interestingly, their clubhouse is pretty big. It's able to accommodate more than 50 people. And what's attractive to me about this project is its extensive landscaping design. It has gardens and facilities at level 3, and it has more than 1 hectare of gardens and landscape areas. So it helps to add a lot of greenery in the heart of CBD, where people tend to imagine CBD as a concrete jungle. But it has added a lot of soft touches in this Midtown Modern project with a lot of landscaping area. And not forgetting public amenities, they design a Midtown Common, which is a large public space, surrounded by 20,000 square feet of commercial space. And, what about its architecture flair? It is actually crafted by the same team that did Martin Modern. And the concept design architect is a 4-time award winner, President's Design Award winner, Yip Yun Hong, and with project architect, NDP architects who design a lot of landmark residential projects in Singapore, as well as landscape architect, Zhu Xiang. So looking at the bedroom mix for Midtown Modern, it has a good mix of 1 bedroom, 2, 3 bedroom types. Sizes are optimally designed, and it has a number of 4 bedrooms and 4-bedroom premium of 110 units in total and 2 penthouses. And this project received very good performance during launch weekend in March 2021, whereby we are still just coming out of COVID. There's still show flat restrictions, but it doesn't stop home buyers from coming to see this project. And during its launch weekend, more than 60% of the units were sold. And price that's being achieved is close to 2,008 per square foot, which is a new game changer price in the Bugis area. And in fact, 90%, 1 to 2 bedroom units were already being sold, and half of 3 bedrooms were also sold as well. So a lot of Singaporeans look at this project because they love the urban lifestyle, yet the design features, and also that seamless connectivity to the MRT station and to retail spaces. And Bugis is also a location where people are looking forward to as the next lifestyle and business hub of Singapore. And riding on from developers' interest towards this Bugis Beach Road area is this landmark en bloc sale, to Far East Perennial and Sinoland development consortium. Why is this landmark? Because this Golden Mile project firstly has an architectural significance. It was designed, with this brutalist design. Brutalist design looks something like this. That means it has like high columns, solid structures. So this building signifies, brutalist design, which is iconic back then in that era. And it has that design significance that URA wanted to conserve this building. And so it was not easy to get en bloc interest because of the need to conserve the project. So over the years, URA has made certain modifications to the requirements for conservation. And also finally, this project is just being sold to the consortium. So you can imagine this project, when it's being completed and launched, it will add another boost to residential commercial demand and thereon capital values in this beach road area. So this will lead to a spillover effect in terms of capital value appreciation for those projects that is going to be completed, such as Goku Midtown, Midtown Bay, Midtown Modern, and even resale prices like Citygate as well as Dual. And then we look at, how about the softer side of things in terms of leisure and entertainment. We look at Bugis, what are some retail concepts that's coming up, and which further adds vibrancy to Bugis. Along Bugis Street, where you see Bugis Village now, there's going to be a new co-living concept called HOVO. It's by CP Residences, and it's set to complete this sustainable co-living, offered by whereby the management is also going to be done by Capital Land in terms of Bugis Street. So this actually is going to bring in this residential co-living component, where you're going to bring in different kinds of communities, from overseas, to add that ecosystem for people to come and share and interact and network. And that's going to be also an interesting arena esports hotel. It is actually Southeast Asia's biggest integrated esports gaming and team hotel. So that's very interesting, where e-gaming is now becoming of high popularity, especially for the younger generation. So this esports hotel is going to attract these group of young e-gamer enthusiasts into Bugis area. And then we look at Bugis Plus, where Capital Land constantly refreshes its tenant mix. They're going to bring in KTV. Now it's great that with the relaxation of COVID safe management measures, we can all come out and sing. And they're going to have this very interesting have fun karaoke in Bugis Plus. And how about sports, where the bouldering, rock climbing is getting popular as well among rock climbing enthusiasts. And Bugis Plus is going to see this bouldering gym. And there's going to be a new Golden Village outlet to be open end of this year. So you can see that Bugis is shaping up constantly to have more interesting leisure and entertainment concepts. And how about food? Food is also a very important part of our culture. And these are some of the new concept stalls like Nike, CS Fresh, where supermarket is made more fun, with this new concept by Cold Storage. And there's going to be a new dining zone at level 3 at Bugis Junction with a lot of local food delights. So from leisure, entertainment, food, I move to office. And why do I want to talk about office? Because office does add a lot of business vibrancy and hence investment potential for residential components. So we zoom into looking at Beach Road, Middle Road Precinct, which is right next to Marina Precinct. And you can see that this Marina Center Precinct, with the main development Suntec, it has seen quite a few major transactions as well in terms of office leasing. You'll see single floor office transacted at 39 million. This whole office floor was being sold at 39 million, which was just 2 months ago transaction. And this is a much higher price, compared to that 6 floors transaction on a per square foot basis last year. And what are some of the major brand name office tenants that comes in, like Facebook, Sanofi, Rabobank? These are major MNCs. They are now at South Beach, as well as in Dual. You also see major companies like these taking out major spaces. So these Queen Bee tenants, right, they really help to further bring in more complementary office tenants and boosting the ecosystem of the place. And this is just an overview of what are the spaces that they move from. So you can see that they are moving from the older buildings. Some of them are they were actually located in the traditional CBD area like Tanjong Pagar and Raffles Place, and they are now moving into Bugis, into South Beach, into Dual. So you can see this gravitation of major office tenants, right, really moving towards the Beach Road, Bugis area, and this will certainly add that performance in terms of property market. So with that gravitation of major tenants moving to newer office buildings in these areas, you see that the Beach Road, Middle Road rental has actually moving closer and closer towards the traditional CBD areas, where rents are from $9 to mid-9s. The vacancy rate is also very low at 3.5%. It is inching upwards, and on a percentage point basis in terms of quarter-on-quarter movements, you see that it's a positive increase, compared to some others that are still seeing negative drop in rents, because we are all coming out of COVID-19. People are moving gradually back to the office, while hybrid working is still very much in the mode. So Beach Road and Bugis, with its mix of more and more residential components being added into the Beach Road area, it actually helps people to also see that the Bugis area is a viable place to work as well, right next to where they stay. And then when we plot, what can be the office rental movement in District 6 and 7, which is the City Hall, Beach Road, and Bugis area, you can see that rents are already inching up. There's a drop in rental in 2020 and 2021. This is synonymous with the whole office market in Singapore due to COVID-19, where demand for office was very much curtailed as everyone worked from home. But as we emerge from the back to office movement, rents are creeping up back again. And you also see a gradual increase in net absorption. That means a net positive take-up of office space in District 6 and 7. And there's also quite a bit of activity in terms of shophouse transactions. You see that Hotel Global, Sultan Gate, Cavan Road, Beach Hotel, and Liang Xia Street, they are all transacted at commendable prices above, 20 million a piece. And you see that bigger ticket transactions are being achieved this year in March, with the sale of Hotel Global, where GFA is about 15,000 square feet. And this is going to be, remade into a co-living concept. So these active transactions of shop house and old smallish hotel buildings goes to show that there's a lot of investor interest in this area to own shop houses in Bugis. And then as we stack up to analyze shop house transactions as a whole in Bugis, you see that the per square foot prices are moving higher, from 3,000 to 4,000, up to 2017. It shot up to 6,000 over in 2019 before moderating its price during the COVID period, and then it went back up again to above 5,005 per square foot range in the last 2 years. And in terms of big ticket transactions, as I also shared just now, apart from Golden Mile en bloc, there's also Bugis Junction office transaction, by an overseas investor, and there's also a Golden Wall en bloc as well. That happens about 4 years ago. So from 4 years ago to the recent year of the en bloc sale in Golden Mile, you can see very clearly there's actually institutional interest in Bugis Beach Road area. And now we look at private residential sales, which is an interest for many of you. When you look at how the prices have been trending, you can see a huge jump in prices since 2017. From 2017, or rather early 2018, there was a strong recovery of private residential market as a whole in Singapore, and more so in Bugis, with the launch of certain landmark projects. And then prices start to regulate a little bit in 2020 due to COVID, but prices are now going back to above 2003 levels in the last 2 years. And what were these transactions that contributed to a huge demand in the last 2 years or so? So we break down the analysis by new sale and resale. So when we look at resale transactions, right, what are some of the projects that have actually beefed up or boosted transactions and prices? So back in 2013, when Dual was launched, you see that its transactions were like more than 500 units. per square foot prices will push up slightly towards the 2,000 level, and prices have stayed almost the same at around 2,000 for the last 4 years because of the moderation of the residential market. And prices start to push up to a new level with the launch of Midtown Bay, where about close to 40 units were transacted in that launch weekend alone. And the per square foot price pushed up to about 2,005. And this price became higher compared to the traditional District 1 and 2 precincts, where it is performing better than these two traditional precincts. And during the pandemic, with the launch of the M, it boosted transactional activity in the Beach Road area again. And then with the Midtown Modern launch, the prices will push up again to 2,008 per square foot, is even higher than District 2 selling prices. So it goes to show that there seems to be a preference towards the Bugis area, with its price higher than District 2 prices. And then when we look at resale, very interestingly, resale was also very much supported by South Beach, because South Beach was the earlier projects being launched. So in 2019, we see high ticket prices being achieved at South Beach, once the project was completed in 2016. As more high net worth and foreign home buyers start to come into Singapore, they see a lot of value in South Beach, and that made the market watching this Beach Road area once again. And we are likely is going to see a recovery in resale prices for District 7 as more projects are completed in the coming years. And I want to talk a little bit about HDB, for those who are looking at, how about BTO, HDB projects in this area? Will there be any projects here? There is, actually, because the government launched this first BTO launch under the prime location housing model. The prime location housing model was mooted by the government for the past year or so. And this project, River Peaks 1 and 2, these projects actually received very good applications. It has mainly 4-room flats and 3-room flats. Sizing is pretty functional. And when you compare its BTO application performance and its prices with the other BTO projects that was being launched around the same period, you see that the median price for River Peaks for 3-room flats is actually quite it's pegged at a certain premium even, compared to Kallang, Whampoa, and slightly lower than Bukit Merah Ridge and higher than Ghim Moh, and you can see that the application rate for 4-room flats is very high at about 10.3 per flat. So for every one flat, there's 10.3 people applying for it. So you see that there's this huge demand towards 4-room flat prices, 4-room flat units, and median price is actually not low, it's at 600 over 1,000, and yet it has received 10.3 application rates. So you can see that nuclear families really want to own a piece of public housing in this part of Bugis Rochor area as well. And this is another comparison in terms of Kallang precinct, and you can see that its application rate, it trumps the other Kallang precinct areas as well, because Bugis Rochor area is closer to town. And this is my concluding slide, where I wanted to talk about how, just to wrap up, why Bugis is a very good area of interest. Firstly, is transport connectivity. It truly has unparalleled convenience with its Bugis MRT station, and this station does bring you to different parts of Singapore, and it has the upcoming North South corridor, and the Nicoll Highway really shortens traveling time towards the east, as well as the East Coast Expressway. So traveling by car and by MRT is truly very convenient, and especially for integrated developments like Goku Midtown, Midtown Modern, with its integration with the Bugis MRT station, it does offer great seamless connectivity for the precinct. And what makes Bugis very special, it is its heritage and culture. And it's set in an eclectic mix of brand new residential and commercial developments. And that adds a lot of vibrancy and another form of vibe and culture to this place. And this sits well with couples who like this kind of eclectic and cultural vibe. And with its adjacencies to Kampong Glam, to Waterloo, Queen Street, and the cultural and arts scene, and with developers of new projects, coming up with new concepts, that integrates with culture and arts, that makes Bugis a very interesting area. And going forward, what is our outlook in terms of office leasing and retail as well, together with residential investment. According to our office occupier strategy and solutions team, we have a huge office team. They do a lot of office leasing, and they are sharing with me that actually there's greater demand for office spaces in Bugis City Hall area compared to Raffles Place, Tanjong Pagar. That's pretty interesting to me, because, and I asked them why is there more demand there? And they said that apart from the good quality office buildings that these developers are building for, which sits very well with big name tenants, because they need new swanking office spaces to attract talent. They also like its location, with its connectivity and the eclectic mix of arts and culture, and there's a lot of food options, in this area. So it ticks off the boxes for many of these office tenants, and hence they like to come to Bugis and City Hall area right now. And that will also add to the investability of residential units. And it's not just investability too, for those who want to buy for investment. How about for home buyers who want to buy for their own stay? I think for those who want to buy for their own stay, and if you like convenience and all, Bugis is really a good location to consider. And with its direct downtown line, it connects you to the Bukit Timah area where the good schools are all there. So it's also a great choice, for those who want to also buy for their own use. So I want to thank all of you, for your undivided attention. Thank you for listening to my sharing. I'm Alice from Knight Frank Consultancy, and I also want to give credits to my analyst Jason for working very hard to prepare this analysis with me. And I'm happy to take questions from all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alice. Thank you so much. So walk down memory lane all the way to projection way into the future. We've got a few questions, but a lot of them were about asking for sharing a slide. So no, for this session, we will not be sharing slides. But if you want to watch the replay, do fill out the survey at the end of it, and then we'll send you the link to watch the replay. Now, the first question we have is interesting. Integrated developments, they seem to be very popular these days. So is it the direction of the government to build more integrated developments?
Oh, very good question. I would say yes, the government is really going towards building more integrated developments. But having said that, they will not do for every station, because they craft it carefully in terms of land use, in terms of the significance of the precinct. So as the government picks land, that is for integrated developments, they have to take these two considerations in mind. That means their urban planning for the precinct, the importance of the precinct in terms of its overarching, land planning strategy, and also looking at, the availability of land as well. Whether integrated developments can be built with a certain minimum land size and connectivity with transport nodes. So the government will only look at doing integrated developments when these criteria is being met, and having the locations of MRT and bus interchanges is also a key criteria. They will look at specific spots, in Singapore where there will be interchanges. So it's quite likely that they will introduce integrated developments, especially where there is MRT interchanges. And when there's interchanges, the integrated development will be actually of a larger scale. They will have like higher component of office space, retail, as well as residential, in order to further boost its potential for locations with MRT interchange. So how about those MRTs without interchange? They still can introduce integrated developments, but maybe they will introduce developments that is with residential and retail. They may have office, but the component could be smaller. They may not have hotel as well. So in summary, I think integrated developments that has more different types of mixed use and of larger scale will tend to be in locations where there's MRT interchange. So interchange means there will be more than one line. So in this case, Bugis has 2 lines, so it's considered a MRT interchange.
Right. So I guess expanding on that would answer Mike's question. His question is whether what's the difference between integrated developments and mixed development? So the transport node would be the differentiating factor.
Yes, and transport node, and for me, how I defined it is quite stringent, whereby this connectivity must be seamless, means that it is really directly connected to the MRT station through a sky bridge or through a underpass. Then that is called integrated development.
Okay. Right. And mine is another question. Seems like these new developments in Bugis will mainly attract the Yappies expats, not HDB upgraders or landowners who generally tend to prefer to stay where they grow up. Any comments on that?
Certainly, I think those who have been growing up in a place, you have that sentimentality, connection to it. That's definitely natural. But as that depends on your needs and also your family makeup. Because if you have a family with children, and as your children grow up, they may have different objectives and different needs as well. So for those younger generations and your children, their children may want to stay in such a location where it's more exciting, vibrant, and hyper. Convenience is a very important consideration for many people, not just for the younger generations, your children, but also for the older generations where you want to have everything at your doorstep. So we have seen instances of empty nesters, that means older couples where after their children moved out, they want to actually stay in a more convenient, more compact kind of project. So they tend to go towards staying in condominiums, where they enjoy facilities, or going towards HDB resale flats where they have all the connectivity and convenience at the doorstep. So I would say that it's a matter of choice, and also your needs. As you progress in your life, your needs in terms of your lifestyle will change over time. So even for those who have sentimentality towards the place you grew up in, after some time you may have a different life perspective, and you might change your mind and go for things that's more vibrant and more convenient.
Okay. There's a question from Winston. On what basis did you derive 25% premium for integrated over non-integrated developments? How do we know if you're overpaying for integrated development? I actually put the link in the chat to the article. So I guess that, for Winston, you can take a look at the story to better understand. Any further comments, Alice, do you want to add to that?
Right. Actually, this premium, 20 to 25% is overall average, that we ascertain after studying many different project comparisons. So some projects may enjoy even higher premium, some projects enjoy lower premium. So it's very much dependent on the quality of the integrated development project as well, the location in terms of the and also the availability of other projects or comparisons. So I wouldn't say that this 20 to 25% premium applies for every project and every location. We have to look at it very much on the specific attributes of the location and project for each setting. But having said that, having done such a comprehensive study done by our consultancy and research team, we are able to, fix this premium at this range. And this range is quite comfortable for many developers, when they aspire to do a top-notch project. This 20 to 25% premium is not outrageous because of, the past analysis that we have done, and it's being proven, with this premium. And it's good to read the article by EdgeProp. EdgeProp covered a very extensive analysis of different projects as well. So Kawi, thanks for sharing that link to Winston. I think that article will also answer many of Winston's comments too.
Thank you. And right, so there's this question about URA direction on having connectivity and greenery everywhere within 10 minutes of an MRT park. So how does that set Bugis aside? That is Bugis still attractive?
Okay, great question. Actually, as Singapore planners are moving towards cycling, park connectivity, they can do it very well for greenfield areas, but they also find a lot of challenges doing in old gentrified areas such as Bugis. So the government is doing slowly. They are trying to working closely with LTA, where LTA used to have certain sacred cows, where there are certain road designs that they used to not want to change, but now they are really changing because the lifestyle is also progressing towards cycling and park connectivity. So we are likely to go to see gradual changes over time, also improving Bugis as well, where from the traditional central business district, you are now starting to see some cycling paths being created. And the government is also trying to interject some green spaces. They will slowly move towards Bugis, although I must say that Bugis has its constraints too. So they are doing more of streetscape cultural rejuvenation, like at Queen Street, Waterloo, Kampong Glam, and then they will move down towards the Bugis area. So that's the old gentrification plan. Then in terms of new plan, they will look at how to integrate that from the Marina Center where Suntec is, and then moving towards Bugis as well, and then connecting to Beach Road. And this Beach Road has a lot of potential because it is still wide enough in terms of road. You still can build a cycling path, and whether it's being built or not, I'm not too sure, but I think there's a lot of potential for building cycling path along Beach Road. So from Beach Road, Bugis, it will connect down to the other side of Beach Road to Lavender and then to the future Kampong Bugis, which is a huge master developer project, but that's going to be developed over the longer term.
Right. So meaning to say 10 minutes to any MRT doesn't mean 10 minutes to a good MRT station.
That's right, because there's a lot of road constraints, which the government is trying their best, to incorporate that cycling and walking paths. So some MRT stations may not achieve that 10 minutes, but they are working towards that.
Right. Okay, so Ronald posted a question in the chat. I think it's quite interesting. So with new office tenants moving to the Bugis area, will that affect the Raffles Place Tanjong Pagar precinct? And will Bugis continue to pull more office tenants from this traditional CBD area?
Right. We can see that in terms of Raffles Place and Tanjong Pagar, why it might lose out in terms of the appeal to provide a holistic office ecosystem environment is because Raffles Place and Tanjong Pagar, as you can see, is very densely built now. There's not enough land area because it's a traditional CBD, it's been developed over 100 years. So hence, right, office tenants want to look for places that has more options, not just a nice office building, but I also want public spaces. I also want, choices of food, entertainment, and play. So Bugis tends to fulfill that right now. But over the longer term, the government is now going to release more land at Marina Bay. Like recently they launched a government land sale site, at Marina Bay garden area, very near to Gardens by the Bay. So that's like the first launch area where they want to further grow that business district southward at Marina Bay. Then they also had a land that's being triggered by IOI, which is at more towards Tanjong Pagar, where it's going to be a mix of commercial and hotel components as well, and residential. So that project is also going to help boost Tanjong Pagar rents a little bit. So I would say it's a competition going forward between Bugis Precinct and the traditional Raffles Place Tanjong Pagar area. So it's like at certain point in time, certain precincts will have its high time, and then there will be certain other times where it will have its high time. So in the immediate 3 to 4 years, I see Bugis being of a new kid on the block. It's going to be quite interesting because with new office and integrated developments coming up. So if you have a short time frame of about 5 to 8 years or so, then Bugis is a good area. But when you want to look longer term, beyond 10 years, where Marina Bay is shaping up, right, then we will start to see that gravitation of movement towards Marina Bay again. So that's why there must be a constant rejuvenation and new areas being developed. The government does not leave any land plots behind. They always want to create value and create a new lifestyle environment for everyone. So we'll see like different precincts having its vibrancy and new game changer prizes at different times of the season.
Okay, great. So that's why a lot of tourists say every 5 years they come to Singapore, they don't recognize Singapore, right?
Oh, that's very true, because we received our global chairman who came to town recently, and he was saying, oh, I'm now seeing new buildings coming up. Singapore is truly progressing every time, unlike in UK where the building height is always the same, and yeah, so Singapore is really a truly progressive city.
Right. Okay, to get to one of the last few questions, somebody asked about integrated development, where the commercial element is not sold as strata units, but it's held by developer, right? Is it difficult or impossible for en bloc potential in the future? And then following that, the next question is any plans on Bugis Cube? So if I'm not wrong, is Bugis Cube is strata?
Yes, Bugis Cube is strata,
right?
commercial. Yep.
Any comments on that?
Oh, I think that is a great question, about longer term en bloc potential. For such integrated developments here, where commercial is held by a single developer, actually it makes decision making faster, isn't it? Whereby you have less stakeholders to grapple with. Just imagine, like, we fast forward 50 years from now, or even 60 years from now, where a brand new integrated development, 60 years from now, you have far less stakeholders to clear the barrier in terms of en bloc. And I would imagine that in 50 to 60 years from now, the rules for en bloc could change slightly or certain ways, such that it will encourage, a rejuvenation of all en bloc projects in the longer 50 to 60 year time. So there might be some change. We do not know because we don't live through that long period. But I would think that with less stakeholders to manage, and as long as the selling prices and the expectations of the prices is not too outrageous, it meets the market, it meets a willing buyer, willing seller outcome. I don't see how en bloc projects couldn't move where the commercial is wholly owned by one or two developers, compared to when you have more stakeholders to manage for a strata commercial. So talking about Bugis Cube, Bugis Cube had a lot of hype, where smaller ticket investors, not the institutional investors, want to have that commercial ownership. And I mean, Bugis Cube did face some challenges in terms of attracting tenants. But over time, you start to see some interesting tenants there in Bugis Cube, which also means that, right, strata commercial owners are coming together to want to curate that retail concept together. So unity is important, for strata commercial owners. There are many owners, compared to one single owner. And hence, right, commercial owners coming together to work things out together, get a good managing agent, maybe get a good managing agent like Knight Frank, because we have experience doing strata commercial management, like Bukit Timah Plaza, Thomson Plaza, where, and we're having a good team, coming together, working together, then you can actually do marketing and promotions, tenant mix management much better. Then you really can compete, with the single owner commercial players. So I think Bugis Cube still has its potential, as long as the owners come together and work closely to curate a very interesting mix of retail, and then that adds vibrancy to the place, and you attract footfall to your place.
Yeah. I guess a lot of strata retail has a problem where individual owners are renting out their place, and you see like maybe 10,000 nail parlors and like in one building. So coming together, I guess it's really to bring the unit mix, the tenant mix, a more functional place to be in. I think I'm running out of time, but I have one question though. There are a lot of shop houses along Bugis, right? Are those under conservation or?
Some parts are, but some are not. So we have to kind of study the conservation area carefully, in URA, and then in the URA map, and then to demarcate which are the conservation areas. But it's a mix for Bugis. Like for example, Kampong Glam area is mainly conservation. And then at the other side of Bugis, some stretches are, some stretches are not. So conservation shop house certainly has its value, because it's a finite supply. We are not going to have new conservation shop house. So in fact, right, when you look at the Goku Midtown project, it has this old academy conservation building, and there are some conservation guidelines to that. Although it's not full conservation shophouse guideline, but there's conservation guidelines. So that adds a lot of heritage appeal, to Goku Midtown, where the developer will have to integrate his new modern buildings of retail, office, and residential, and integrate with the conservation building, and adds that vibrancy to it.
Okay, right. I think I need to wrap up this morning's session. Thank you very much, Alice, for sharing. It's been a joy learning about Bugis. So if you have any more questions or what, reach out to Alice from Knight Frank. And if you would like to watch the replay of this morning's session, help us out by filling out the survey. I think we've put the link in the chat. We'll also put up the QR code later. Okay, so in the next segment, we'll talk to Melody Tan on the Lentor area. I will take a 5-minute break before the next segment. So thank you very much, Alice, for sharing your time with us this morning.
Thank you, Kawi and team, for having me. Thank you, EdgeProp.
Thank you. Now we've got some questions regarding the Midtown Modern, because we've talked so much about Bugis and the up and coming project, right? And so we've put some contact details here. You can call this number on the screen. You see 62259000 WhatsApp, or go onto the website. So Gokuland is a very experienced developer in integrated developments. They've seen Wally Goku Tower, and you've seen how vibrant the whole area is today. So check it out. This is Midtown Modern. And if you need the replay, the QR code is on the right side. And we have another minute before we move on to our next area. Right. So it's 11:15. Welcome back, everyone. We've got new attendees. So welcome back. This is Master Plan Masterclass. My name is Kawi, and in this series, we will be studying the master plan of different planning areas across Singapore. In this process, we'll be using EdgeProp's analytics to observe trends and study specific data points. The second session today, this is the second session today. In our earlier session, which just ended 2 minutes ago, we spoke to Alice, Head of Consultancy at Knight Frank, about Bugis. And this session, we'll be exploring the Lentor area with Melody Tan. Melody is the Head of Training at EdgeProp. We've catered some time for a Q&A at the end, so put your questions into the Q&A. We'll answer them at the end of Melody's session. So welcome, Melody.
Hi, Kawi. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for staying with us, for those of you who have attended the earlier session. And for those of you who just joined us, thank you so much for joining us. Today, or should I say, for my session, I will be covering on the Lentor area. Okay, so I believe some of you might be here because you are keen to look into buying maybe a property there. Okay, so let's get started. Let me share my screen. Okay. Okay, so the Lentor area. So for those of you who are familiar with this area, I would say this is considered a new area that the government is trying to develop. Okay, it's very different from Bugis, which Ellie shared earlier, where it's the town area. There's a lot of rejuvenation going on. As you can see from the map here, okay, most of the places that is highlighted is actually not really developed yet. So meaning to say there's a lot of room for potential because all these land are still there, okay, ready for the government to actually sell the land and then of course eventually develop the area. Okay, so let's get started. So quick disclaimer here. This information is as is. EdgeProp is not an agency, developer, or consultancy, and we won't be, whatever we're saying here won't constitute to any advice to buy or sell, okay? So this is what I'll be covering today. I will basically introduce you to the Lentor area, what the government intends to do with this particular area, the connectivity and convenience, as well as what is available there in terms of the facilities, the food options, the education institutes. Okay, and then of course we'll introduce this new neighborhood which they call the Lentor Hill Estate. Okay, and that's where there's a certain concept that they're looking at, the different lands that is being sold under the government land sales. Okay, and overall, what are the buyers looking at today? Okay, we will also quickly touch on the first project that will be launched within the Lentor Hills Estate, okay, which is Lentor Modern, an integrated project integrated with the MRT station. Okay, and then of course, what are the housing options available in the Lentor market right now, or in the Lentor area? Okay, so those that are existing. Okay, and then of course we will touch on those that are upcoming also. Okay, and then we will end with how it actually blends in with the entire growth story for Singapore. Okay, and then at the end of it, we will have a Q&A session. Feel free to put in your questions in the Q&A, and then I'll just answer them at the end of the session. Okay. Okay, so the first thing that you'll notice is that the Lentor area is actually part of the subzone called Targo. Okay, and then for those of you who are familiar, it's somewhat, I would say it's nearer to the Yio Chu Kang upwards, okay, Lentor area, so on the top of the core area, okay, we have the Lentor Estate with a few of the landed projects up there, and towards the south we have the Teachers Landed Estate. So it's actually predominantly private housing. Of course, we have a few projects at the side. We have Thomson Grove, we have Cowrose, okay, and then we also have like Far East Horizon. So you notice some of these projects like Far East and the Far East Horizon and Thomson Grove is a bit older, around the 30 plus years old, and then Cowrose is a bit newer, around 15 years old. So one of the main objective that the government is trying to do is actually to introduce new homes in familiar places. So, you know, we have your matured estates and then you have your new towns, and this is somewhat in between because it's matured yet new at the same time, because there's so much land that you can actually that will be developed along the way. And then of course, right at the heart of it, we have the Lentor Hill Estate, which I will quickly touch on shortly later. Okay. Okay, so this area is actually served by the Thomson East Coast Line, which, if you guys are following the news, part of the line, okay, part of the Thomson line has already been open for, you know, to serve the community, but there's actually quite a number of stages to it. Okay, so right now we are in stage 2, whereby Lentor, which is the area that we're looking at, is already up in service. Okay, so if looking at the line here, you'll notice that we are actually 8 stops to Orchard Boulevard and 9 stops to Orchard. Okay, so if you go down south, there would be 8 to 9 stops. So at the current moment, because we are in stage 2, okay, Orchard is actually in stage 3. At the current moment, it'll probably take you about 25 minutes to get to Orchard. Okay, but with the line, once it is ready, okay, we will be probably looking at around 15 minutes plus minus to get to Orchard. So it's actually really convenient. Okay, really convenient. Okay, so you can see over here, this is actually the entire Thomson East Coast line. I have actually broken them down into the different stages, 1 to 5. So you can see that Lentor is in stage 2. And if you are looking at stage 3, Orchard Road is somewhat around here, okay, which is only a few stops away, like 8, 9 stops away. So all in all, there's 32 stations on the Thomson East Coast line, okay, and there are in total 8 interchanges. So you can see scattered around the entire line. We have the Red Line, the Circle, Cross Island line, okay, so Bright Hill, you have Cross Island coming up, and then Caldecott, also in stage 2, so linking to the Circle line. Okay, and then in stage 3, which will be ready later this year in 2022, okay, which is quite the longest, I would say it's the longest stretch among all the different stages, okay, ranging from Mount Pleasant all the way to Gardens by the Bay. This would be ready this year, okay. And then after that, we have stage 4 and stage 5 over here. So you'll notice that out of all the interchanges, I think 1 or 2 that requires a bit more highlight would be Outram Park over here, as well as Marina Bay over here. So both of them are actually under stage 3. Why so? Because they actually are an interchange for a total of 3 lines. The Thomson East line, the Thomson East Coast line, the East-West line, as well as the Northeast line for Outram. And then for Marina Bay, we're looking at Thomson East Coast, North-South, as well as the Circle line. Okay, so once all this is ready, I think that it will definitely help to bring people from stage 1 and stage 2, all the way from Woodlands, Lentor, towards the town area in Orchard Road, Outram, Marina Bay. Yeah, okay. So this is actually the timeline over here. Stage 4 and 5 will subsequently be open in 2024 and then 2025. Okay. Now, this is actually the growth of the public transport network. So if you look at it, we actually, basically you'll be able to see all the different lines. This is in the northeast area where Lentor is part of. So you can see that we have the Thomson line over here, the brown line over here. Okay, and then we have all the different lines crossing over. We have the north-south red color, northeast purple, and then we have the Cross Island, which is the new line that is not ready yet, okay, but definitely would help to cut down a lot of travel time, because it basically cuts across multiple lines, yeah? So you can see over here. So that would be ready around 2028, 2030, okay, the Cross Island line. And then of course, towards the town area, we also have the Circle line and the downtown line, okay. So other than highlighting the line, the different MRT lines that are in the northeast area, I also wanted to quickly highlight the employment nodes. So if you can see over here in the legend, we have the dark blue colors, which are the new employment nodes, which basically is in line with what the government has in mind to actually allow you to work anywhere and everywhere. Okay, so other than traveling to town, which has always been the government's direction to decentralize from the town area, we will also basically, you can basically see all these nodes over here. So right beside Lentor, we have the existing node called the industrial estate. This is actually a B1, okay, business 1. So it's non-pollutive and more business looking kind of building. Okay, and then nearby we have the Amoko Industrial Park. And For the new one, okay, the new employment node, I would just want to quickly highlight Sengkang West. Okay, Sengkang is actually the newer node over here. Okay, so it's actually quite near. If you drive along the Yio Chu Kang Road, it will bring you to Sengkang West, basically. So it's just one straight road down, probably just 10 minutes, about 10 minutes drive away. Okay. Now, also, in addition to the MRT line, I think one of the most notable and important part to mention is the North-South corridor. So this is actually a new expressway that will cut time, commute time, and also reduce congestion. Particularly, I would say the CTA area, that's where most of the time, if you are staying in the north or the northeast, you will know it tends to jam up quite a bit during the peak hours. So with the north-south corridor running parallel to it, it actually does save a lot of time. So in this corridor, this north-south corridor, it also features basically a transit priority corridor. Okay, so it's basically dedicated bus lanes, cycling routes, and pedestrian paths. Okay, so all these would be expected to complete in 2027. So that's another 5 years, So it'll be connecting the north all the way from Woodlands area all the way to town area in the city. Okay, so it will be basically a combination of a few things. There will be like tunnel, there will be like a flyover bridge area. So tunnels and viaducts, quite interesting. Okay, so it can actually save you up to 30 minutes if you're taking the express buses. So you can see that it's actually parallel to the CTE. Okay, this is actually around Woodlands area all the way to the top. Okay, so you can actually save about 10 to 15 minutes generally, okay, but up to 30 minutes depending on where you are traveling from. Okay, and it will basically link all the park connectors, the cycling paths, and people can also walk, so there's pedestrian as well. So you can see over here, we have the north-south corridor all the way. So it's tunnel all the way to this area. And then you have the at-grade and the viaduct, okay? Now within Lentor area, so I have actually highlighted the Lentor area here. This is the MRT in case, just to get your bearings, okay? So in terms of facilities wise, on top of whatever new facilities that will be coming up in the Lentor Hill estate, which I'll share later, you will also see that there's existing facilities in place, okay? Right on the south of it, we have the nature park. It actually extends all the way up, okay? Just that screen size, I'm not able to show you the entire Thomson Nature Park, okay? It is actually quite a big park, and it was open, I think it was last year or the year before, okay? So other than that, on the right-hand side of Lentor, okay, on the east side of Lentor, we also have the Tai He Guan Hospital, the Yio Chu Kang Sports Center, swimming complex, and then there's also the Yio Chu Kang CC at the bottom, okay, somewhere here. Food, something that I always find very, very important. Okay, so there's actually a lot of affordable food options in the proximity. The nearest one, actually, if I'm not wrong, is the Ang Mo Kio 628 market. Not sure how many of you have eaten there before. It's actually quite a lot of food choices, and some of them are actually quite popular, quite well known. Okay, so we have the fishball noodles, chicken rice, prawn noodles, quite a lot lah. So personally, I do go to this market quite a bit. So I've highlighted the yummier ones. Okay, of course, slightly further away, maybe about 5 minutes drive away, we have the enclave along Casuarina Road. Okay, some of you definitely you will know the Casuarina curry and prata. And then of course, if you walk along the street itself, okay, the food street, we also have a couple of like zi cha stores like Liang Hua and Cui Xiang. Okay, So if you travel towards the north, okay, from Lentor, it will actually bring you to Springleaf, okay, and Springleaf is another enclave with quite a number of good food options. You have the Yang Dao Fu Famous Kitchen, which is more like a restaurant kind of place, quite good, the food. And then we also have Springleaf Prata, which is always quite well known for their different types of prata. Okay, of course, if you travel further away, there's also a few more other hawker centers in the area. Okay, so quite a lot of food that you guys can enjoy. Okay, what about education-wise? These are actually all the education institutes within 2 kilometers away. So we have a mixture of primary and secondary highlighted here. But in terms of nearest proximity, I would say it would be Anderson Primary, as well as the Presbyterian High School, which is both within the 1 kilometer away, 1 click away, okay, both primary and secondary. So this is actually the location, okay? If you look at it, Lentor MRT is here. This is the area that they will be developing, okay? Lentor Hill Estate. And then if you basically travel along Yio Chu Kang Road, maybe just like 2 bus stops or 3 bus stops away, it will bring you to Anderson Primary as well as Presbyterian over here. So 1 or 2 bus stops lah. Okay, so I've been talking about the Lentor Hill Estate every now and then, because this is actually the most exciting part of Lentor itself, okay? So if you remember, I mentioned that this will be a new area, okay, in a familiar place, okay? So you notice some of the projects nearby are a bit older, okay? And then of course you have your landed on both the north as well as the south, the Lentor Estate and the teachers' housing estate, okay? But this whole area is, I would say, is totally new, okay? So if you look at the map, all the plots are pretty much empty at the moment, which means that there's going to be a lot of growth potential. Repeat that, a lot of growth potential, okay? So we start off with the first plot of land over here, which will be launched sometime in September, Lentor Modern. So this will be the only plot of land out of the many that has been released, okay, that will be integrated with the MRT. So if you actually join us earlier for the Bugis session, okay, you would know that the difference between mixed and integrated already, right? So this is actually integrated seamlessly with the MRT station. So you don't actually need to cross a road or anything, just all linked up. Okay, so but other than that, of course, we have all the other plots of land, and the whole estate basically would be planned around this hill lock. Okay, so you can see that there's actually going to be a park centered around a hill, okay, and that will be how the design is. Quite interesting lah. Okay, and then of course towards the left side, or I would say towards the west, okay, northwest, we have the linear park, which basically connects all the way. Okay, so it actually goes downwards. It actually goes towards the central catchment area, okay, central catchment nature reserve. And if you go towards the upwards, okay, it will actually go towards the Lower Seletar Reservoir. Okay, so basically it will connect you not just for in terms of a park connector, okay, with the pedestrian as well as the cycling connectivity. So it can actually link you towards all the rest of the park connectors, okay, park networks. Okay, and then of course in terms of amenities, okay, it will be basically, I would say that it is focused mainly on the mixed development here, with lots of retail options, supermarket, quite a bit of amenities here. Okay, so this is actually a artist impression. So you can see that this is actually the hill lock, and we're looking from the viewpoint of the linear park. So you can see how it would be designed in a way that there's a lot of greenery and recreational spaces. Okay, So if we zoom in on the plots of land, okay, you would notice that in since last year around July, that was when the first land was being sold. Okay, that was in 2021 July, where Lentor Modern, previously they just call it Lentor Central. The Lentor Central land was being sold. So this, I mentioned earlier, is the only site that is integrated with direct access to the MRT, which is right over here. Of course, there will be multiple entrance and exits to the MRT. Okay, and then we have another 6 more plots of land that were subsequently being released throughout the year. And I thought that this was quite interesting because usually, okay, the government does not usually release that many plots of land within such a short time period. So it actually goes to show that the intention to develop this area is actually very strong. Okay, so within every of the release, okay, first half, second half, you will see that there's new lands being released. So we have Lentor Hill that was released right after Lentor Modern, okay, the parcel A over here. And right now, currently open for tender, we have Lentor Central, this one in orange, and Lentor Hills Parcel B. So both of these would be open for tender and closing in September. So that is another month to go before we see the bidding results. Okay, and then of course, for the rest of the year, okay, if I'm not wrong, it will open in October. We have the next plot of land, Lentor Central and Lentor Gardens, which will be released basically in the end of the year. Okay, it will be probably close end of the year. Now, one thing you will notice, all these plots of land are rather big, okay, not small plots of land. Most of them have a good plot ratio of like 2.1 and above, okay? So can really build quite a number of units. For Lentor Modern, we're looking at about 605. And if I'm not wrong, Lentor Hills Residence, the next one that will be released, parcel A, is like 400 over units. Okay, so most of these plot of land, you're looking at 400 plus units and above. Okay. So if you look at it, this is actually the breakdown. Okay, I've arranged them in order. Okay, so you can see the land sizes. The biggest one is actually Lentor Modern, and then we have the next one, which is Lentor Garden, 21,000 over square meters. Okay, and then of course the only one that has commercial space is actually Lentor Modern, 8,900 over square meters of space of commercial space. So if you see the rest of them, most of them are 400 over units. The smallest project would be the one that is open for tender now, 265 units. Okay, but the rest of them are about double the size. Okay, so you can see open for tender now, and then the other two would be launched in October and probably close end of the year or early next year. Okay. So now that we were looking at Lentor Modern being an integrated development and that will be launched very, very soon, I thought I just want to highlight whether are these projects in demand right now. Okay, so based on what has been happening in the last couple of years, I would say they are really hot in demand. The last one that was being launched was actually Piccadilly Grand in May, okay, where about 77% was sold. Now, of course, would be more than that, 80%, 90% sold. Okay, so this one is integrated with the Farrer Park MRT. And then we had Midtown Modern, which if you attended the earlier session, okay, is also selling very well. It was launched in March 2022. And as of now, or as of June, 76% is already being sold. Now, a bit earlier, we have also the Pasir Ris 8, that was last year, 1 year ago, okay, 1 year ago. It was selling really, really well as well. 85% take-up rate as of June this year is 90%. okay, and then we have even earlier in November 2019, we had Sengkang Grand Residence. This is integrated with the Buangkok MRT, and as of now, only 2 units left. So you can see that within a time frame of, let me see, 2 years, okay, 2 years, there were 4 projects that were being launched, and all the take-up rates are really, really good. Now, of course, if you compare with all the projects that were launched along the way, I would say that they are really rare. It doesn't happen all the time. So if you are looking to purchase an integrated development, you should probably want to be on high alert every time there's one that is being sold. There's only that many MRTs that can be integrated with, right? Okay. So we actually did a convenience and connectivity survey in June this year, okay, conducted by EdgeProp. And we actually found out that a lot of the respondents, okay, people who were looking to buy a property in the next 12 months are actually open to considering an integrated development. Okay, in terms of budget wise, they are looking at a range of 1.4 to 1.9 million. Okay, of course, that really depends on whether they are buying for someone else as an investor or whether it's for own stay lah. Okay, so of course, for own stay, most of them are more willing to actually have a bigger budget on it. Okay, so at 1.9 million budget for those who are looking for own stay. So these are actually we actually asked them what are the features that would be most important to them in an integrated development. And we found out that the most important, the top 3 is actually supermarkets, affordable food, and the MRT. Okay, so you can see the number of respondents for the top 3. And it seems that the gym, the walking distance to the workplace, and beauty services are not so important lah, basically. Okay, so if you're looking at the integrated development, you might be looking at these 3: food, supermarket, and MRT. Okay, now, while they say that certain things are important, are you willing to pay for it? So for our respondents that actually responded in the survey, while supermarket was number 1, right, if you remember earlier, the respondents were actually more willing to pay for public transport. So you can see the top 3 results: walking distance to MRT, direct connectivity to MRT, and the walking distance to transport hub is actually more important, and or should I say more, they are more willing to pay for this rather than to pay to be near to the supermarkets and affordable food choices. So slight difference over here. Of course, these are still important lah, MRT, food, and supermarket. Okay, just that if I'm going to pay for it, the public transport still comes as number 1. Okay. Now, there's one more question: how much you're willing to pay. So this is, we actually asked the respondents whether they're willing to pay more than 10%. So it seems that for this, again, people are looking to be directly connected to the MRT and walking distance. So these are the 2 that they are more willing to pay a higher percentage for. Okay. So we actually, during this survey, our objective was to find out whether connectivity and convenience versus central location, what is more important to them. And it turns out that 4 and 5, so 80%, okay, of the respondents actually felt that it was more, they actually prefer convenience and connectivity over a centralized location. Okay, so you can see over here, okay, non-central, central but low connectivity, not so interested, 21%. Non-central but high connectivity, almost 80%. Okay, so the next one is central but low convenience, 19%. Non-central but high convenience, 81%. So about 20%, 80% for both questions over here. I think this actually, linking back to my own experience, last time I actually was working with a retail developer. Okay, I was working in a mall kind of management office setting, and I actually spoke to a tenant who, it was at a F&B tenant. Okay, they were running a restaurant that had they actually have multiple restaurants scattered around the entire Singapore. Okay, so what happened was the mall that I was working at was actually in the central location, and the tenant was actually telling me that, you know, even though I'm paying you more rent here for your central location, my business is actually better in the non-central area, that is, you know, where the heartland of the mall, heartland areas, where it's right near where people are staying at. So I think it really makes sense, because you know, when what people really want is to have all these convenience right at their doorstep. Yeah, and so now, you know, there's actually lesser people traveling to town just to do something, when you can do everything in the mall or the area where your house is at. Okay, so all eyes on Lentor Modern. Now that we have gone through the 4 projects that was launched in the last 2 years, the next one coming up is actually Lentor Modern, which will be launched next month in September. So really, really excited, because how often do you come across another integrated development? Okay, so this is actually 1.7 hectares integrated mixed development. It is directly connected to the Lentor MRT, okay, which is on the Thomson East Coast line. In terms of space, 96,000 over square feet, including a supermarket, which was one of the key factors, key amenities that people are looking at. And also one more, which I feel that parents would totally agree, a childcare center. Okay, so there's actually a 10,000 square feet childcare center right at the doorstep, okay, right where all the mall is. Okay, so total there will be 3 towers, 25 stories, 605 units. Okay, so this is a rather decent and big size project, okay, with a range of 1 to 4 bedrooms. So you can see there's 3 towers over here, and then the mall, the MRT, everything is integrated over here lah. Okay, so another artist impression on how it's gonna look like with all the mall, the stores, okay, the retail and the MRT. Okay, so now that we talk about what is coming up, let's also look at what is available at the moment, okay, in the vicinity. So if we actually scan the area, okay, around the Lentor MRT, within 1 kilometer away, you will notice that most of the projects are actually quite old already, okay, relatively old. Right at the side, you have like Thomson Grove, which is like 38 years old already. And then slightly newer, you have like Carros, which is also about 15 years old. Okay, so nothing very young. The youngest is actually Meadow at Pier, but that's a bit of a distance away already, not so near to this particular plot. Okay. So, however, if you look at the prices, okay, so I've actually zoomed in on the map here to show you the location. So we have Thomson Grove right beside the Lentor MRT, and then Carros, which is right across the Yio Chu Kang Road. So both of these are actually within the 500 meters thereabouts vicinity. And you can see that prices have gone up, okay, which we believe is because of the anticipation of the upcoming launches. So you can see Thomson Grove, if you remember, Thomson Grove is 38 years old. And if you look at the prices from last time, 1997, only about 500 plus per square foot. And today, in fact, I've checked the most recent transaction that happened on 29 July 2022. So that was like 2 weeks ago. And it was actually transacted 1,528. So you can see the bar over here, okay? Above 1,005 per square foot for a rather big unit. So apparently for Thomson Grove, most of the units are huge. Even the smallest unit is 1,004 square feet plus. Okay, so this unit that was being sold, 1,485 square feet, was actually sold like $2 million, okay, at 1,528 per square foot. Okay, I believe the person that bought this could be because they saw that there could be a possible en bloc potential. However, in view that, you know, there's still so much land available, it could take a while. Okay, so even though this is quite old already, with the whole estate still not, you know, really developed yet, okay, still a lot of growth, I don't foresee developers would go for an en bloc until all the lands are being sold. Okay, and then of course across the road, Calrose at 15 years old, quite a lot of transactions all along, and then recently they are looking at also about 1,005 per square foot plus minus. Okay, 15 years old. What about new launches? So if you actually scan the area, there isn't any new launches. The nearest one that we could find was actually Amo Residence, which is in Ang Mo Kio, so right much towards the southern side, okay? And it was sold, 98% was sold on the first day of launch. So similarly, there was a lot of pent-up demand because there was more than 8 years where there's no major projects that was being launched. So we do foresee that, you know, with Lentor coming up, this would be another option for those people who are looking to purchase in the vicinity. Okay, they're looking to purchase property in the vicinity, but maybe they wasn't able to get this, or they prefer something more exclusive and more private, because actually towards the Lentor area, it's more predominantly you know, landed and a couple of condos nearby, not much of HDBs until further away. Okay, so if you look at the landed area, okay, so this is actually the Lentor Hill Estate Enclave, and right above, so we have Lentor Estate. Okay, it's a mixture or a combination of couple of projects here, and then towards the south we have the Teachers Estate. Okay, so again, we see similar trend, similar to the apartment condos in the area. Housing as for the Teachers Housing Estate, okay, prices have gone up to close to 2,000 per square foot. You can see over here, these are all transacted prices, yeah, okay, close to 2,000 per square foot in recent year, in this year, okay, this year onwards. And if you look towards the Lentor Estate, there's a couple of projects. I just took a few for example. We have President Garden looking at about 1,002 per square foot. And we have Fudu Park, which is about 1,005 plus 1,006 per square foot, you can see here. Okay, so all in all, you can see that the general trend has gone up for both, for all the landed in the vicinity. Okay, so if you look at Lentor as part of the entire, you know, Singapore's growth story, there's actually a few things that is, I would say, that is in line with what is being planned. Okay, so first, one of the objective for URA is to create a place that you can live well together. Okay, so in this aspect, we have new housing option that would be the Lentor Hill Estate. So there's new employment nodes like Sengkang West and the North-South corridor that can actually allow you to work anywhere and everywhere. Okay, and then of course there should always be a place to play. So healthy and happy. So we have the Linear Park and the Hillock Park right where the Lentor Hill Estate is. Okay, and then of course it's connected to all the other parks as part of the connectors lah. Okay, and then To move efficiently and connected, of course, we have the Thomson East line, which, as mentioned earlier, is in the works. We have stage 1 and 2 up already. Stage 3 will be ready by the end of this year. And then, of course, stage 4 and 5 in 2024 and 2025. Again, North-South corridor being the option for you to stay connected, okay? So we have, it's an alternative route to the CTE as well, because it's parallel to it. Okay, so this is just a quick map to show you what is being planned lah. So if you're looking at this, around here would be where the Lentor area is. Okay. So as part of the growth story, we are also, or should I say the government is also looking to develop some form of identity, okay? So for Lentor, it is actually the Thomson Kallang corridor, okay, over here. And then, of course, there's a few other identity corridors along the way, lah, okay? And then last but not least, we also want to stay sustainable, eco-friendly. Okay, so again, with the North-South corridor, with the dedicated bus and bike lanes, that would definitely help to maintain our environment, okay, and keep a nice Singapore for the rest of our generations to come. Okay, so with that, thank you so much. I'm done with my training with my session today. Hope you all found today's session useful, and I will be taking some of the Q&A. Okay, so let me see if there's both the chat and the Q&A first. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Melody. Can I just jump in to quickly remind us viewers to fill out our survey at the end? We'll send the QR code. We'll show the QR code. We'll send the link in the chat as well. Melody will be sharing these slides because I got a lot of questions asking whether slides will be shared.
Okay.
And I think we talked a lot about Lentor Modern. So I will also put a link in the chat so that viewers can take a look at it later. Yes, so Melody, sorry to interrupt your Q&A.
No problem. Let me just check out the chat because I think there's a couple of questions that was also housed under the chat. Yeah. Oh no. Okay, or maybe let me look at the Q&A first, faster. Okay. So first question, I thought this is quite interesting. This is by the anonymous attendee, okay, with URA's direction to have connectivity and greenery everywhere. 10 minutes. Is Bugis still attractive? Now, it really depends because some people, I would say every location is meant for a different person, okay? So even for the town areas like Bugis, there will be different target audience for it lah. So for those of you who are familiar, of course, if let's say you're staying in a certain area and you're familiar with it, you would most likely want to stay in the same area again. Okay, but for Bugis side, with all the rejuvenation, again, there's a certain target audience who would find it attractive. Okay, so I think at the end of the day, the government's objective is not to bring everyone away from town area and then have it as a dead town. Okay, what they want is to have every location in Singapore have an identity that is unique to the space there. And then of course we have different people who are looking at different locations.
Sorry, Melody, I need to interrupt again. The first two questions were from the previous session. So
sorry.
So I think look at will the launch of new condos in Lentor have any meaningful impact?
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait now. Lentor Modern, nearest amenity 628 Market is more than 800 minutes, too far away for walking distance, hence it failed the criteria. Okay, it really depends. If you ask me, it is the 628 market is actually within 10 minutes walk away. So I would say 10 minutes is still a reasonable walking distance away. Of course, if you wish to have immediate amenities, you will be able to find it right at Lentor Modern itself, okay, where the MRT is, where the mall is, all your food options will also be there lah. Okay. Karen, is there data to show what sort of premium percentage can be expected between integrated development and one that isn't in the planning area? Okay. Okay, usually, if I'm not wrong, it's about maybe 10 to 20% premium, 10 to 20% premium for integrated developments. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So there's one by Yvonne Sophia. Are these projects at Lentor leasehold or freehold? So if you're looking at the new ones where the government is developing right now, all the land are actually leasehold, okay? So they'll be released under the government land sales. So if you're looking at freehold property, the only ones would be to consider the existing projects like Cowrose or even Thomson Grove. Those are freehold, but much older, okay? Okay, walking distance is within 10 minutes. So 10 minutes is about 800 meters plus minus lah. Okay, CT Tan. Development like Meadow at Pier and Cowrose are freehold, while Lentor, Modern, and the land parcels are going to be sold around Lentor area are 99 years, although they are nearer to the MRT, which would give better value. Now, if I actually do a comparison between freehold and leasehold, what I can say is that the tenure actually doesn't really matter as much as the proximity to all the facilities and amenities. Yeah. So if having done a lot of comparison, not just for Lentor area, I've actually compared those projects that are 99 years right beside the MRT versus freehold, a bit of distance away. And overall, the projects that are 99 years but near the amenities tend to do better. Okay. Microsoft Gas, what is the projected per square foot? So based on our research, okay, taking into account some profit margin for the developers, my guesstimate would be around 2002, 2003 per square foot. Okay, but of course, we'll have to check with the developers if that is going to be the case. Anonymous, Thomson Grove nearest to Lentor has less than 5 transactions in 5 years. Does it mean it is an unpopular area? Okay, so actually when I was looking at Thomson Grove, what I noticed is they don't actually have that many units. And another, I would say that the biggest thing about Thomson Grove is that the units are really, really big. So 1,400 to about 2,000 over square feet. So that makes the overall quantum maybe a bit unpalatable for some people because they have to buy such a big unit and maybe they don't need such a big space. So in comparison, if you look at Cowrose, I think they have a more decent number of transactions. And also another thing for Thomson Grove is that it is really quite old already, so 38 years old. So it could be the facade and all that being a bit on the older side. So you have to spend on renovation and all that. Okay. So K Balan also asking about pricing. So I mentioned for Lentor Modern, my guesstimate is about 2002, 2003. With so many land parcels for condos near Lentor Modern, how will Lentor Modern prices be affected? I would say that it will not be affected because it is, first and foremost, it is the first plot of land. So it is the one that will set the new benchmark, okay? And another thing is that it is the only integrated land parcel. So I wouldn't think it's so much of a competition. If you're looking to purchase an integrated development, you only have Lentor Modern to choose from. Of course, if what is important to you is something else, okay, maybe some of you prefer less density, okay, or you prefer a smaller project, then of course you may want to look at the other parcels that might be coming up. Okay, so there are the smaller projects, 400 over units, as compared to Lentor Modern that is 605 units.
Actually, if I may just add that I think 2 questions already on like the many different plots around the area. The observation is it will be a first mover advantage, and typically when there are new plots of land coming out in adjacent spaces, when they launch, they tend to uplift the price of a relatively new launch around the area as well. So if there's going to be a series of uplifting, I guess that would be interesting for the first mover to be in the area.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Kawi. Yeah. So usually what happens is when the newer land is being sold, okay, it actually does bring up the price of the earlier projects. Okay. Another one is commercial segment for sale. I don't think so, but I could be wrong. Okay, and then Tan Yong Sun. Would the next plot of land be a better buy than the integrated one? I would say it really depends on what you are looking at. Of course, if you're looking at the convenience and connectivity, Lentor Modern would be the only choice for you. But if what you want is maybe bit further away, because there are actually people who prefer not to be in an integrated development. There are such cases also. So you might want to consider the other projects, other pieces of land as well, because each piece of land would have their own unique selling point. Yeah. Okay. So I think I've answered most of the questions. Yeah, so I think that's it. Kawi, did I miss anything?
Yes, I think we missed the first one, but just to answer the last question on the commercial units, it will be taken care of by the developer itself. So I think we talked about this in the earlier session. The developer has better control of the tenant mix, to make it a more livable, functional space for residents in the area. And then back to the first question, launch of new condos have meaningful impact on the landed prices in the vicinity. So actually, while you're doing a presentation, I was looking at our tool on EdgeProp. Yeah, so it's in. I took a look at the street view, and the landed properties there, the transactions are very few and far in between, and those were transactions from very long ago. But if we look at the quantum, because of the sheer size, right, they go to 4 or 5 million. Yeah, so I guess it's really different product mix. So yeah.
Okay. So
right.
I think questions are answered.
I guess we've taken care of most of the questions. That shall conclude our morning. I hope you have you've learned a little bit more about Lentor from Melody, from the connectivity to the eateries, to upcoming developments around the area, and so on and so forth. Yes, I would like to thank Goku for being for sponsoring today's session and making it possible. And it's targeted to launch in September. If you're interested to register for preview or keep updated, do let us know, fill in the survey. Thank you very much, Melody, once again.
Thank you.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about next week. Next week, we'll have our talks will be on 2 very exciting areas. They'll be covered by Desmond Sim, CEO of Edmond & Company. He will be he'll be discussing the CBD Tanjong Pagar area. And then in the following session, next Saturday, it will be covered by Bernard Tong. He's the CEO of EdgeProp, and he will talk about the East Coast planning area. the so-called East Coast plan that we've waited for a long time. Right. And thank you very much for sharing this Saturday morning with us. We'll see you next week.